Hello everyone. This is assignment number 3 instructions, menu engineering. So if you were not in class on Friday, we would have went over both week 3 and 4 material, as well as talked about assignment 2 a little bit, and then this new one that just is going to be assigned here this week, assignment 3, which is menu engineering. Now, the reason I'm putting this video together is because it is a little bit more complicated. There is a lot of Excel work that you have to do, as you can see here on the screen, and that particular work requires you to do some mathematical calculations. So we're going to walk through how to go ahead and do those. And for the sake of ease, I'll zoom in here just so you can see what I'm doing a little bit more in detail. There is the video lecture under week 4, and although I ramble a little bit throughout it, it does give you a pretty good idea of how menu engineering works and why we are doing it. So this one here is what we're looking at is 1 week worth of sales for the keg here in town in Barrie. Now this is probably 3 or 4 years ago sales numbers, so some of these items are no longer on their menu. They themselves would have done a menu engineering analysis and chosen to remove some things and keep some things. So what we're going to be doing here is I'm just going to show you the first couple lines and then also how to graph this. And then the rest will be on you. And then I'll also take a look at some of the longer answer questions on the bottom. Now this is worth 7.5%. And I don't need to remind you that this is an individual assignment. You're doing it on your own. And I want your opinion on everything. Not another student's, not something online. I want you to look at it and you make decisions. Okay. So the first thing I'll show you is, I don't know why that jumped all over, is a sum formula. So a sum formula is adding a bunch of numbers together in a range of numbers. So as an example, I want to add all of these numbers together right here to show how many items in total were sold during this week. So I can go equals. An equal sign says that there's a formula starting. So I can go equals and just click on each individual one and then press the plus sign and just keep going down. This is a way that you can do this. Not the only way. So then you'll just see I'm adding B6 all the way to B15 and it goes on the line and then I just press enter and it's 755. You also see when I click on the actual item in the bar up here, it tells me what the formula that was being used, just in case you want to double check, make sure it's correct. So I can also delete this and show a sum formula. So SUM means, it even says here, sum, adds all the numbers in a range of cells. So what you have to do here is you have to do an open bracket, which will be the 9 button on the keyboard. I can click and drag the range. So I'm adding B6 to B15 and close bracket. Now technically you don't need to do a close bracket, it'll still understand it, but just do it. And then I press enter. Again, same thing, 755, and shows us the number, which is fantastic. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is do the menu mix. So the menu mix will be an equal sign. I'm taking the amount sold divided by the individual, or how many total items were sold in that week. And this will give me a decimal or a percentage depending on how it's set up. So right now this is set as a percentage. So you see it's 10.2% of the items of all the items sold were baked garlic shrimps. And you can go ahead and do that for multiple ones. And the idea is that all of these should add up to 100%. So just keep going and then you see. So let's just do crab cakes because it's a low number, so I'll show you. They only sell also 4%, 4.24% of all the appetizers sold in the week are crab cakes. So automatically you're kind of identifying what seems to be a weak item. Item CM, and it actually gives you the calculations, is E minus D. So E column minus D column. So here we're just going to go sales price, subtract the food cost price, and that'll give you an amount. So it's $5. Now, there's a couple times that you'll be able to do the same. If it's the same calculation, you can just copy and paste that formula and it'll apply to a bunch of different cells. So in this situation, that's true. I can go a couple different ways. I can copy and paste because all of these are going to be E minus D. So if I just paste, it should do all the math for me all the check, but it is correct. Another way you can do it as well is when you click on this, if you go down to the bottom right-hand corner, and this is the way that I often do it, you see it changes to like a little plus sign or crosshair. So if I just click and drag that down, it will again do all of that for me. So the same thing would be true for these columns here. And you can actually look at each individual column, and it says E7 minus D7, and it is smart. So it assumes E8 minus D8, E9 minus D9. It's a pretty smart program. It kind of understands what you're asking of it. It won't work always. So if I try to do it here, it wouldn't work because what it's doing is B10 divided by B17. B17 is this empty spot. So what it's trying to do here, and this one here, B11 minus B18, that's this empty spot. So while these all go down, it's assuming that there's numbers down here, which there aren't. So in not all cases will that copy and paste work. Sometimes you just need to do it by hand or use what they call an absolute formula, but we won't get into that. Okay, menu cost. So D times B, so this is D, so equals D times B column will tell us how much we spent $304 worth of product. And this is the revenue, so it's going to be sales price minus the amount sold. So we spent $304 to earn $687, and then you can do it two ways. So I can do F times B, so this is how much money I'm making, or 385, or just go menu revenue minus food cost. Should be the same number. If it's not the same number, you did something wrong somewhere. So there you go. So that's two different ways that you can do that, and this shows you. Basically what this shows you is that I sold 77 garlic shrimp. 10.2% is the popularity. So when someone comes in, just over 10% of the time they order the baked garlic shrimp. It costs me $3.95 to buy one order of baked garlic shrimp. I sell it for $8.95. I make $5 off each sale. In the week, I spent $304 buying baked garlic shrimp ingredients. I made $689 off selling 77 of them. Revenue, and I kept $385 after I subtract my costs. This is all the information you need to then make some decisions on, is this a good item? Now, you'll have to find out what the average CM is and the menu mix. You have to complete this whole thing in which to find those. So I'm not going to do that right away, but what I will do is say, I know the menu mix is 1 divided by the number of items on the menu. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. So 1 divided by 10. So we know it's 10%. The average CM, I get, what is it? Try to remember what it was. I think it's something like $6.25. You'll have to figure this out using these totals. I'm not doing that right now because I don't want to show you exactly how to do everything. But as an example, let's just say it's 625. So what I will do now is I can say, okay, for the contribution margin, you make $5 per item. Is that higher or lower than the average CM? So it's lower. So for contribution margin, I would put an L. And for menu mix, is it over 10%? It's just over 10%, so I'm going to put an H. And then basically what this means is this is a plow horse. So I'd write that in here. So you need to know what all these plow horse, puzzle, star, and dog. Basically saying we don't make a whole lot of money off them, but we sell more than average. This is a plow horse. The numbers you need to remember, 10.2%, $5. So because what's going to happen is now that you now need to graph this for me. So before you go ahead and graph, there's a couple things you need to do. You need to fill in the average contribution margin, $6.25. The average menu mix, 10%. Right now, the middle of this graph, this blue spot, is $6.25 and 10%. That's the middle. Higher, this is the percentage line. So if something is 5%, it goes down here. If something is 15%, it goes up here. And then And same way, if something is lower average contribution margin, it goes left for lower and right for higher. Into the dog area for lower, up into the star and puzzle area for higher. You have all these different stars here. This is your legend. This one here is the ones that you'll be placing. Now, a couple things that you should understand is when you do this, you'll understand what the lowest contribution margin is, and also the highest, and also what the lowest menu mix and the highest is. So if I go through and do all these, this just gives you like a kind of area to work within. So I'm just gonna finish all these up. Whoops. Okay. So just looking at this, I know the highest percentage is 13.64 and the lowest is 4.24. So even if you want to write that in here somewhere, just be like 4.24% and 13.64. And then you might also want to know the dollar amount, the lowest and highest. So the dollar amounts, the lowest, the least we make on any of our items are $3.75, and the most we make is $9.78. So just say $3.75. And I'm just writing them down here just so I don't have to scroll back and forth. $9.78. Okay. It's just this for my own knowledge, because when I'm looking at the average contribution line, goes left to right, I know at the far bottom end, this is $3.75. This goes up to $6.25 in the middle. And at the highest end, it'll be $9.78, which is our highest amount of money we make per item. Same theory with the percentage. Low, 4.25. This is 10%. And up here is 13.64. Okay, so you have to graph that knowing that these are the lows and the highs. So I have to graph the baked garlic shrimp, which I know is 10.2% and $5. So what I'll do is I'll grab my blue star on the right-hand side here, not this one, but this one. And I want to put this 10.2% and at $5. So I know if this is 10% right in the middle, 10.2 is just a little bit higher. So I'm just going to raise it up a little bit higher. And then also if that middle spot is $6.25, I know if I go left, it goes down. So as I go left, it'll be somewhere around there. Way on the left is $3.75. Middle is $6.25. So $5 is, in and around this area. Maybe it's a little higher up here, but that now gives you an idea of where this is graphically on a menu engineering graph, which is just a little bit easier for you to determine. So the idea of this is that when you go and get a career or a job in food and beverage down the road, not everyone knows how to do a menu analysis, a menu engineering analysis. Actually, I would assume almost nobody in that restaurant, maybe minus the general manager, or if somebody has some official schooling, know how to do this. If you know how to do this and can graphically show it, which is just, doesn't necessarily matter if you are able to do it, but are you able to communicate what this means to other people, right? So you'll have bosses that'll say, okay, well, you just give me a bunch of numbers. What do I do with it? So what you can say is, okay, looking at this graph and where all these different things are located, there might be 4 or 5 different items that we classify as a plow horse, but some will be much better than others. So as an example, if I had a plow, let's say all 4 of these were plow horses. They're all technically plow horses, which means that they don't make us a lot of money, but they're quite popular. But if I'm looking at all 4 of these, I can say, okay, well, this one here, it's very, very close to becoming a star. All we have to do is be able to figure out how to make a little bit more money off it. Versus this one here, it's very, very close to becoming a dog. If it just sells a little bit less, it'll just drop below that 10% and get down there. Right? So it's one of those things where we want to show the numbers, also graphically, and then I can go to my management or to my owner and say, okay, this is your appetizer menu. These are my recommendations. And you can make all kinds of recommendations. Stars you typically leave alone. Puzzles, as mentioned in the lecture, are things that are not popular enough but make you good money. So you want to be able to increase the popularity to try to get them up here. Increase the popularity to try to get them up there. Even if they're not all the way into star, the higher they go, the better. Right? So things that are hovering on this box line are solid. These ones you don't need to worry about. The dogs you need to worry about, and you need to decide, am I either going to keep it or am I going to get rid of it? And if I'm keeping it, do I have a good reason why I want to keep it? And all those reasons are in the lecture. Same thing with plow horses. That we sell a lot of them, so they're popular. You don't want to get rid of them, but can you make more money off them without losing the popularity? Because as you charge more expensive prices, less people typically order it. So what you need to do, and this is where all of your marks are really going to come from. I know these are not huge boxes, but you can write in as much as you want. I'll be able to read them. I need you to select 3 items that you would change or remove and tell me what you would do to make these items better. I'm going to be marking these out of 3 to 5 marks each, which is more or less the equivalent of all of the other stuff. So just so you know, about 50% of your marks are going to rely on ensuring that you do this properly. So I really want you to think about it. I want you to revisit the lecture. If you say, I'm going to remove this because it's a dog and it's not good, that will give you 1 mark. Because I can look at that and say that. It's a dog, it's not good. But that's not telling me anything. Right? You have to look at it a little bit more in detail and saying, these are the things that we can do. Yes, we can remove it. That's easy. But we could also try to verbally feature it. We could try to increase the portion size. You might want to look at the item itself and say, okay, let's take a look. Baked garlic shrimp. Are we going to get rid of that? Well, there's also a shrimp cocktail on here. Both items, both have shrimp. So there's no real point in me getting rid of one of the items that already has shrimp, because we have to buy it anyways. So the fact that it's the shrimp cocktails down here doesn't really hurt us that much, because we're already buying the ingredients. They're already in-house. It's not going to waste. Now we can keep it. That's a smart reason. Or you say, okay, this one here, let's say it's the escargot. So we're making $5.51. It's 13.64. It's very popular. How do we make this escargot get up into this star area? We got to make more money. What are some ways that we can make more money on it? Looking at purchasing, suppliers, looking at different suppliers who might be able to bring it in, reducing the portion size. There's so many things you can do, just increasing the price. But how much would you increase the price by? Like, I want details. So as second year students, I think that you're all smart enough and capable enough to handle this. I'll stop using those 2 words to describe you, I promise. This is the menu engineering assignment as it is. This will be due the following Sunday before midnight, uploaded to Blackboard. Please take your time on it. Please do some good thought. Do not look at other people's. If you have similar or the same answers, you're just going to both get 0 for plagiarism. Do this yourself, and thank you so much, and email me if you have any questions.